Hi everyone, this is Glenda Dawson and you're watching Glenda's Dragon's Den. LD had promised to be here this week, but he got another mission that he's got to take care of before he can join us again. So let's keep our fingers crossed and he'll be able to join us next week. Tonight, I want to thank you all for watching every single week and sending comments and emails. We appreciate everything and we read everything that you send to us. And tonight we have a very special guest, Karen Anderson, and um, her biggest thing is she communicates um, with pets. And I now just want to turn it over to her and let her tell you her story because it's fascinating and it's something you usually don't hear. Welcome, Karen.
Oh gosh, thank you so much. I'm really, really, really glad to be here tonight. So thank you,
Thank
thank
you.
you. I do have
Okay.
a very unusual story, don't I? Um, as far back as I can recall, I've always had an affinity for animals. They were my first friend, in
Mhm.
life. And I felt drawn to them. I was always saving the little creatures that needed help or were hurt or lost or whatever was the situation. And I just knew, even at a very young age, that I wanted to work with animals. I wanted to be around them my whole life. And that has certainly turned out to be the case. So I can remember very early conversations I had when I was a little girl with our family dog named Prince. And he was a beautiful tricolored collie. And Lassie was, the top show back then. And he looked
Mhm.
Lassie. So I thought I had like a movie star dog. And he was truly he's the one that showed me how to communicate. I shared my first messages with
Nice.
him. Yep. And they were very silly little conversations, but I would know things about him that a 5 or 6 year old shouldn't know. And
Mhm.
I thought everybody could understand his messages.
Okay.
It never occurred to me that I was doing something unusual or different. And plus, maybe your listeners and your audience can relate to this. I grew up in the 60s with Disney movies
Mhm.
and Bugs Bunny, and everything I watched, the animals could talk.
Right?
Everything, Bambi and Jungle Book, and every all my favorite shows, and even the ones like Lassie, where Lassie wasn't actually talking, but Lassie had this incredible bond with, you know, the humans, and that's what really drew me in, and I just loved it, and I drew upon all of those experiences, never realizing that gee, maybe animals can't talk. So I just ran with it
Mhm.
and um, ran into immediately a brick wall because it was not something that my parents knew what to do with, unfortunately. I don't know if you've
Good.
heard this before, where those abilities were sort of frowned upon
Mhm.
in the
Yes.
household. I was told I had an overactive imagination, that I needed to stop talking to the dog, and it just really kind of uh, freaked them out that
Okay.
I knew things I shouldn't know. So to all your followers, if you have a child that is showing abilities,
Mhm.
support them, help them, encourage them, learn about it so that you can help them control what they're receiving instead of making them feel that they're doing something that they're not supposed to, because that's what happened to me. So I basically pushed it down and I hid it from everyone, and I wish I hadn't have done that, but at the time that's all I knew to do.
Yeah, as a child, they tell you that you know that that's bad, that you have an overactive imagination. So you start thinking there's something wrong with you. Yeah.
Hmm.
and you trust your parents. And in those times, anybody that talked to and got messages, whether it be to ghosts or to pets, we're looking at some psychological uh,
Right.
vibe there.
Right.
So,
Yep, indeed. So, very early on, I just kept it to myself. And, it wasn't until many years later where it all resurfaced. And I had this spiritual awakening, or this, light bulb moment where everything clicked and fell into place. And that was of all times when I was a deputy sheriff in a little town in Colorado called Bailey. And boy, oh boy, there was just no stopping it at that point. So I had been practicing animal communication in my personal life at the same time, never thinking that it would go into my work or become part of what I was doing as a deputy. I mean, I never even put those two together. And then crazy things started happening while I was on patrol. I would respond to a domestic violence, or, one call I had was a man with a gun, and I would get on the scene and try to figure out what was happening. And it's not like TV where there's 52 squad cars that pull up. It's not like that. This was the Mountain District, and sometimes your nearest backup car was 45 minutes, half an hour away. So it was usually
right.
just me. It's just me there. And I began to get, if there was an animal there on the scene, I began to get information from the animals about what happened.
Mm-hmm.
It was crazy. And I really, truly thought, I was losing my mind, because I would hear things in my head, but it was in my voice. But it was something I wasn't thinking about. Like, I would hear where a suspect was hiding, or who the aggressor was, or I'd see what actually happened before I arrived on scene. So really crazy things started to happen that I couldn't explain. And again, being in law enforcement, credibility is everything. If you don't have credibility, forget about it.
Right.
Go back to your day job, right? So I didn't tell anyone. I kept it all to myself because it sounded really crazy, even to me, even though it was happening to me. But it fascinated me at the same time. And I thought, what else can I find out? What do the animals know? What can they share? How can they do this? I'm a total stranger to them, and yet they're sharing specific details about a crime or a criminal activity. I mean, that's fascinating, because they don't have agendas. They don't worry, I can't say anything because that's my mom or that's my dad. They just share it because they saw it. So it all just would come out. And it just blew me away. I just couldn't get enough of it.
So, in a way, it made you a better officer, because you were able to find those clues and find, who knows, maybe at some point there was a gun hidden or something like that, and you heard it, from the animals. Oh, they hit it here, they hit it there. So I am sure that made you very, very good at it.
Well, it did, and I was a rookie. I mean, straight out of the academy. So you're trying extra hard anyhow. And
Right.
I was the only female on the department. So then I was trying even harder at that point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it was very male dominated. So the last thing that I wanted to do was to mess up or to lose my credibility. So I was very diligent, and again, I kept everything to myself. One particular story that I would love to share with you that I remember so vividly. I got a call to a crime scene, or a 911 call, excuse me. It was a 911 call where there was a man with a gun was the call. And so I arrived on scene, and when I showed up, there was this gentleman I have to be careful. I can't say older anymore because now I'm older. But at the time he was older. At the time he was older than me, and was covered in blood. He was walking around waving a gun, but he was covered in blood. Just everywhere. His face, his head, his hands, everything. And I get there and there's just total chaos. He's not telling me what's happening. It was something about his dogs. It was something about the neighbor's dogs. And I had to, try to figure out what was going on. And since he was the only person that I came in contact with, I noticed that his 2 dogs were in the house. So I said, well, let's go in the house and talk about this. I, got the gun away from him, of course, and secured it. And as I was in the house, I was trying to take his statement. His dogs kept showing me this image of him with a shovel going after the neighbor dogs.
Oh.
So I kept seeing this image from his dogs as I'm talking to the man. He's across the table from me, and his dogs are sending me this image. So his story was not corroborating with what the dogs were telling me. The dogs were telling me that he was the one that went after them. He was telling me that the neighbor dogs had come after him on his property. But it actually turned out, and I validated later, that there was another across the street neighbor that witnessed it. And he confirmed that this man was the aggressor and went after the neighbor dogs with a shovel.
Wow.
So if I had taken this man at face value for his statement of what he was telling me, it looked like his neighbor's dogs came over and attacked him on his property, where actually that wasn't the case. And he was going to go shoot them. So he ran in and got his gun and was going to go shoot the neighbor dogs. And the dogs knocked him down to the ground and they started attacking him because he was trying to hit them with the shovel. So talk about a mess. I mean, this was a messed up story. And yet his dogs basically threw him under the bus because they told me the truth of what really happened. He wasn't being honest, but his dogs were being honest. And that's what I love about the animals. They don't have agendas. They share exactly what they see. And it's not about, trying to keep somebody from getting in trouble. They just share what happened. So that was pretty amazing.
Yeah, I bet. And the best part is like this way you didn't have to, because from what I understand, there's a lot of places that if the dogs are very aggressive, you have to put them down. And, that would have been terrible to do when they had nothing to do with it. They were just defending themselves.
They were defending themselves, and he had bites all over him. I mean, they really got him. It was pretty bad. They got him good, but his story just wasn't holding up. And then fortunately, there was a neighbor who could, basically eyewitness tell me what he saw. So, that really kind of opened up this whole other world to me of what else can the animals tell us? And eventually that led me to other cases. I had another case where there was a missing boy. A little boy got lost in the national forest, and they had a pet dog. And the dog basically showed me the direction that the little boy went in, which was nowhere near where everybody else was looking. And we ended up finding him in the direction that his dog told me. So, little things like that just a flash of an image, the dog just flashed to me where the little boy had gone, saved him. So that's pretty remarkable.
That's wonderful. You're giving me chills here. Well,
it gave me chills too, because I couldn't believe it was happening. And it really, I wanted to learn so much. I wanted to learn everything I could about it. So that's where I dove in and really started sharpening my skills. Now, as a deputy, I was raising my awareness for my own personal safety. So I was tuning in to my personal surroundings more. I was listening more to my intuition because I had to stay safe while I was on duty. And again, I was usually on scenes by myself. Maybe there would be one other officer there, but it certainly isn't anything like what you see on TV.
No.
And so I had to really rely on my other senses to stay safe. And when I combined that with the animal communication that I had been practicing, it came into the perfect storm. And that's where everything just started to snowball for me.
Mm. And it kept you safe. It's
It
definitely
did.
one of it. Yeah.
Kept me safe. And yeah, it was just a fascinating experience for sure.
Now, what made you leave the deputy? Because
Well, there were many different reasons, but primarily I really felt that even though I loved being a cop, I love law enforcement, I have absolutely no regrets about it, that wasn't my calling.
mm,
That was a stepping stone to get me to where I needed to go.
mm,
And I realized that not on a conscious level, but I felt pulled toward animal communication. I really felt that that's where I needed to be. And back when this was happening, this was over, this was back in the late 90s, early 2000s. So we're going way back.
right.
Animal communication wasn't really a thing back then. It
Mm,
wasn't as common as it is today. So I was basically following a path into the unknown
mm,
and giving up a career and following this dream and passion I had. And it's kind of crazy now when I think back on it. It's like, what the heck was I doing?
you
But
were listening to your guides,
I
right?
was.
Yeah.
I listened. You know why, Glenda? Because prior to that, I had spent almost 20 years in the mortgage industry and I hated it. I
Mm,
absolutely hated it. I got fired. I got in trouble. Every place I ever worked for either laid me off or closed down. I mean, it was just a 20 years of yuck.
right.
And my guides were screaming at me, "You're in the wrong career." So they made my life miserable for me so I would get out.
Hmm.
And it took me a while, but I finally got the message. So ever since then, I realized I need to pay attention to what's in here. What is the little voice? What are you hearing in your head? What are you feeling in your heart? It wasn't in alignment with anything I had done, so it was very scary. And I
Hmm.
don't get scared by a lot of things. I don't. I mean, as a police officer, it
You
takes a
can't.
lot to scare me. But when you leave everything behind and you follow a passion and everyone around you, your closest family members, your friends, they all think you're nuts, that's really scary to just trust. And that's what I did. And that's what I want to encourage all of your followers, your audience, your listeners, everyone who's tuning in. You have to trust that little voice, that passion, that where you're being drawn, where you're being pulled. That's your life purpose. Even if
Hmm.
it's not clear, you have to just don't worry about how to make it all happen. You got to let go of the outcome. You just got to say, well, I'm being drawn to this. Like me, it was animal communication. I'm just going to practice and get as good as I can get. And that's what I did. And the how it happened wasn't up to me. I just needed to walk that path and go there. And
Right.
then everything else happened. Opportunities started to happen. Things started to basically roll
Hmm.
and open up for me. And you can't worry about, well, how the heck am I going to do this? You just have to trust. And I think a lot of people have a hard time with that, just
Yes.
trusting.
And just going with the flow and knowing that deep down, everything is going to be okay. So just go.
Right.
Just
One
do
of
it.
the first one of the first conventions I ever did was here in Spokane. I live in Eastern Washington, And I went to this convention as a vendor right when I started. I was so brand new. Didn't know what I was doing. So I was at this, it's called Pet Fest here in Spokane. It's at the county fairgrounds. And I had a booth and I had, to sign up for a session, and I had a little raffle going on and all this stuff. And, absolutely nobody would talk to me. It's like I had, COVID or something back before COVID wasn't even around. It's like no one would even come near my booth. Well, the local news guy came sauntering by, and he's like, "Oh, animal communication. What the heck is this?" And he stuck the microphone in my face, and I just started talking about it. I don't even know what I said. Well, it aired on every, break that the newscast had. And the next thing I knew, there were people pouring in to come in and get a session with me. It was crazy. So this one girl came in with her pit bull, this beautiful pit bull. And she said, I want to get a session. And at that time, I was not polished enough to do an in-person session in the middle of a convention with, people walking around and all the ambient noises. I needed to book it out later, but she insisted. She said, I drove, 2.5 hours to get here this weekend, and I want a session with you. So I thought, okay, Karen, come on, you can do this. You can do this. So I brought her over to my little card table and I sat her down, and her pit bull was busy watching the wiener dog races that were going on next, right? So there's all this chaos going on. And I tune into this dog, and the dog says to me, "You need to help my mom." And I thought, okay, how do I need to help your mom? And the dog said, "Tell her to stop doubting." All right, stop doubting. Well, what is she doubting? And the dog wouldn't answer. I said, well, you have to tell me what she's doubting, or, I don't know how to tell that to your mom. And the message I got was, it's something really big. And it was like, the dog showed me, it was like bigger, like way up into the ceiling big. Stop doubting this really big thing. So I thought, okay. So again, weenie dogs are racing back and forth over here, and I'm sitting across from the gal. And she's like, well, what's my dog saying? What are the messages? And I said, well, the message is that you're supposed to stop doubting. I said, I don't know what it is, but your dog says it's really big, and it's like bigger than this room, this really big thing. Stop doubting, stop doubting. Do you know what this is? Because I don't. Well, all of a sudden she just broke down and started sobbing. Oh. And I thought, what the heck did I do? Good job, Karen.
Yeah.
Way to make a client happy. So she finally composed herself, and she said, how did you know that? She's blowing her nose, how did you know that? Tears, the whole thing. I said, how did I know what? I don't even know. And she says, nobody knows this, but I've been doubting the existence of God.
Wow.
And I went, wow. Okay, that's a really big thing. No wonder the dog couldn't tell me. How does an animal explain God to you? Well, it's this really big thing.
Right.
So she had been really struggling. She'd talked to different religious factions, and she was trying to figure out what really happened in life. And her dog told me.
Wow.
Crazy.
That's amazing. That is amazing.
Excuse me. It was really powerful. And the weenie dogs were still going. And you do readings, so you get this, right?
Yeah. And when you're about to sit in front of the person, that's when everything starts. The music starts, yep. the crowds come in, everything, and you're like, okay, how do I focus?
Yep. And there's people down there. Come on, little Buster. Come on, little Susie. And they're rooting on their little wiener dog, and here's Karen going, I'm trying to focus here, people. It's not like Bewitched, she just wiggled her nose and everything.
Yeah, we can all do that.
Right? No, it takes focus and concentration. I mean, sometimes we get images and downloads. You know, sometimes it's in your face, but sometimes it's not. And you have to
You
have to
have
pay
to kind of
attention.
knock on the door, open the door, and just let it come in. So
Yeah. And so from there, it was just
mhm.
really truly about learning their language, because there is a language. Animals, it's not like us learning Spanish or, something like that. But when you learn to communicate, it's much like when you learn to communicate with a human spirit, there's a transference of energy.
Right.
Sometimes you see an image, sometimes you hear words, sometimes you feel a feeling, sometimes it's all of the above. Right. Sometimes you have no clue what they're showing you, but as you describe it to the person, they know exactly what you're describing. And you evolve into understanding what certain ththings mean. And do you work with symbols at all? Like for me,
Yes.
Okay. If I see like a little bottle of insulin, of course, obviously I know there's a diabetic or, something along those lines. If I see a drop of blood, that's, a blood issue, blood related, high blood pressure, something. If I see a heart, a heart usually means love, but if it's placed over the person, like if I see the heart over the person and it's not like a pretty Valentine heart, then I know there's a heart problem there. Right. So you start to pick up these little symbols and you learn their language. And that's really what I did for many, many years. I just learned their language, and I conducted thousands upon thousands of sessions. And I found that I was drawn and gravitated most towards the afterlife sessions. It's one thing to get a clear and accurate message from a living animal. I mean, that's mind-blowing enough, right? I mean, that's truly mind-blowing. But when you get a message from a departed pet, and it is so specific, and I am an evidential medium. I look for facts. I seek out accurate information. I don't like to give general feedback. And I would experience in the midst of conducting a session, delivering, for instance, I'll give you a perfect story. In my newest book, I write about this story of a little dog named Argyle, where he kept showing me a giant glass of red wine. Giant glass. Like it wasn't just a normal glass. It was giant. And I thought, oh, that's kind of weird, to myself. I said, that's kind of weird. Normally, they talk about their favorite things or their favorite treats or, something funny they did. And so I didn't say anything. And I was not too sure yet. And I was trying to get more information, but Argyle wasn't talking. So the session goes on. I'm delivering other messages. Boom, he sends me the glass of red wine again. And I'm thinking, oh, man, what is this? What, I thought for a split second, maybe it's an addiction. Maybe there's an alcoholic. Maybe there's an alcohol issue. And I didn't want to bring that up, so I didn't say anything. I was like, I'm not going there. So continuing on with the session, boom, there's the glass of red wine again. And I thought, okay, I have a rule. If an animal sends me a message 3 times, I'm delivering it because it's important. Right. So I just apologized profusely to Argyle's mom. And I said, I don't know what this is. And I don't know the meaning behind it. But why would Argyle be showing me a giant glass of red wine? Total silence. She's on the phone with me. And then she's like, oh my gosh, Karen. Oh my gosh, I can't believe this. Nobody knew about that. Okay, nobody knew about what? On their last trip together, one of their last trips together. maybe even their last trip together before he transitioned.
Right.
They drove across the U.S. to a winery in Oregon called the Argyle Winery.
Wow.
And because his name was Argyle, he was treated like royalty there, like he was a mascot of the winery, and everybody was like oogling over him. And they have pictures of Argyle in front of the Argyle Winery sign with big giant glasses of red wine.
That's
Thank
amazing.
goodness it wasn't a drinking problem, because that would not have been fun.
No.
But yeah, you just never know. I had another dog one time that had passed on, and I was connecting at another convention. No weenie dog races this time, and I was with the mom and the grandma to the dog. So I just had a picture. I just had the dog's pictures, and the mom and the grandma to the dog were crying and obviously very upset. And they kept saying, I just want to know that he made it to the other side okay. I just want to make sure that, he's safe and that he's with our other cat, because they were so close. And so, can you ask him, please? So I tried so hard, Glenda. I was like, are you okay? Are you on the other side? Are you with your other loved ones? Are you with the cat? I got nothing. All I saw were these big, giant, like cow-sized spots. That's all I saw. Big spots. That's it. I got no words, no feelings, nothing, just spots. And I tried and tried several times. All I saw were spots. So I just finally looked at the mom and the grandma and I said, I am so sorry, but I'm not getting anything. Every time I ask, all your dog is showing me are these big, giant black spots. And they both went, oh! Their cat on the other side was white with big black spots.
Amazing.
Okay.
And yeah, it's very hard to communicate. And even though sometimes we keep practicing and all that, and you establish a dictionary, as I call it, every once in a while they just throw you something different. So it's
you never know what they're going to say. And it's also kind of crazy because like the English language is kind of weird sometimes. Like I was working on a missing cat session with a client of mine in New York, and the cat said, tell her I'm in the gardens. I'm in the gardens, like repeatedly kept telling me that. And she said, Karen, I'm sorry, but that's wrong. And I said, well, why? And she says, I live on the 112th floor of a high rise. There's no gardens here. There's nothing. There's no terrace, no balcony. There's no garden. We're in New York. We're in Manhattan. Well, I didn't know that. I said, well, I'm hearing your kitty's in the gardens. All I can do is deliver what they tell me. That's all I can do is share what they tell me. So fast forward, we ended the session. A few days went by. I get this email from her saying, you won't believe this, but I had put a poster up in the building next to us, and somebody from the building called me and said they had my cat. They were trying to find her owner. She said when she went over to that building next door, she looked at this signage on the front of the building and it said, The Gardens.
Oh, wow.
The building was called
The Gardens.
The Gardens.
You just never know. You just never know.
Crazy.
It is. It is. So, you've written a couple of books. Let's talk about.
I have written.
Yes.
I've documented this crazy experience of mine, and yes, I have 3 books now. Hear All Creatures, The Amazing Afterlife of Animals, and The Pet I Can't Forget, which just came out in the fall of last year. I've got them sitting on my table back there.
Right. So people could find you on Amazon there.
Yep, they're on Amazon. You can order them through my website. They're on Audible, and it's truly, uh, it's not sad. I mean, there's sad parts. How can you write about deceased pets and not be sad? I mean, come
Right.
on. There's going to be sad parts, of course,
Mm-hmm.
but the overall theme and the stories are so powerful and so transformative and so inspirational. It's just going to blow your mind. And it's, to me, that's why I gravitated toward the afterlife communication, because I would be in a session with a client and deliver a message like Argyle in the wine, or
Right.
something insignificant to me, but
Mm-hmm.
it meant everything to Argyle's mom. That, from that moment on, there was no doubt in her mind that Argyle was fine, alive and well in the afterlife, that he was with her, he was communicating with me, he was
Mm-hmm.
showing something fun they had just done. Everything changed
Right.
in that split second. And that's what I write about. I write about those transformative moments where you can feel the grief just lifting, and everything shifts from that dark place of sorrow and sadness when we lose somebody that we love so much to, oh my gosh, they're showing Karen that? Really?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They could only do that if they still exist
Right.
somewhere, somehow. But we humans, just because we can't see it, feel it, touch it, hear it, we think
Ugh.
they're gone. They're gone
Right.
forever, right? But they're not. And that's what the books are about. Incredible stories, amazing transformations. And the newest book, The Pet I Can't Forget, is all about signs from the afterlife and
Ooh.
how they send them, where to look for them, all the different signs there are, like a lot of people get feathers or pennies from
Mm-hmm.
their beloved companions. Some people will find a tuft of fur when there's no way that fur can be there in a spot that was clean before, or no other pets in the house. There's a great story I have with one of my dear, dear clients. Um, Her name is Cindy, and we've had, oh my gosh, so many sessions together over the years. But we were having an afterlife session one time, and she was missing her kitty. And so I was delivering all of these messages to Cindy, and all of a sudden I said, I'm supposed to say happy birthday to you.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, oh my gosh, Karen, it's my birthday. This was my birthday present to myself, to have this session. And oh my gosh, my kitty knows it's my birthday. And she was thrilled, right? I mean, who wouldn't be thrilled that
Right.
their kitty said happy birthday? Their departed kitty said happy birthday. So we hung up the phone, and she was outside the building where she lived or worked or wherever she was. And she saw something moving in the bushes. So she goes over and look, and it was one of those mylar balloons that said happy birthday on it.
Oh, wow.
Right
That's
after the session. I mean, and it was just random. It wasn't like her balloon, it was just there randomly. And crazy,
that's
crazy things have happened.
mm. Now, tell us about your nonprofit.
My nonprofit. So, as I shared with you in the beginning, I've been all about the animals my whole life. In fact, my
Right.
dream was to win the lotto and open an animal sanctuary. But I didn't want the kind of sanctuary where they got adopted out. I wanted this to be a sanctuary where they stayed and lived, and it was their forever home. So that's what I created. I created the Painted Rain Ranch
Mm-hmm.
Animal Sanctuary. We are on 30 beautiful acres in eastern Washington. Pine trees, 80 feet tall, beautiful rolling hills. It's gorgeous. And what sets us apart is that I bring here the pets no one else wants. I save the pets that are overlooked,
Mm-hmm.
the ones that are elderly, special needs, injured, the ones that have problems, the ones that have been in the shelters the longest, that have no pending adoptions, the ones that no one else want come here. And they live here on this ranch. This is their final refuge. They never get adopted out. They stay here as part of the family. And it is my total childhood, lifelong dream come true. So you are officially speaking to the head pooper scooper of Main Ranch. That would be me. And there's a lot of it, let me tell you. We have a lot of wonderful animals here. And the one thing that I want to talk about that is so important, what I've discovered, we just launched a few years back, but the transformations that I have witnessed when an animal finally feels loved, when an animal finally feels like somebody cares about them and they don't have to worry about struggling to live or where their next meal is coming from, the transformations are amazing. And sometimes their medical conditions disappear or lessen. It's like they shed that like the skin of a snake, and they leave it behind because now they have love and they have somebody who takes care of them and wants them and spoils them rotten. I have a lot of spoiled animals here. So that has been one of the most amazing things to me. I wasn't expecting that. I thought that if they showed up with, a certain health problem, that they would have it the whole time that they were here. And that just isn't always the case. I mean, there's some that, of course, have issues that don't go away. But it's just, we got to give these guys another chance. They deserve it. It's not their fault that at the hands of a human, most likely, they ended up at the shelter. Most likely it was a human involved. It's not their fault. They deserve love. And they deserve a chance. And that's what I do. I give these animals their chance. And I'm very proud of that. It is my passion. And because that is my passion, all the proceeds from my books, we haven't talked about yet, are my coaching programs. But all the proceeds from my coaching programs, and I also have colleagues who conduct animal communication sessions and donate a portion of those proceeds to the animals on the ranch. So everything goes to the ranch. So if you sign up for private coaching with me, it doesn't go in my pocket. It's donated to the animal sanctuary. And I think that's a beautiful thing because I feel like I'm paying it forward. I'm helping the animals, and I'm living my dream. I mean, it's like, pinch me. Am I really doing this? Is this really happening? And you know what? If I can do this, Glenda, anybody can. I don't have any special skills. I wasn't psychic before I started this. I don't come from a long line of, shamans or whatever in my family. I just decided I'm going to listen to what I feel and hear, not what society wants me to do. I'm not going to listen to that. I'm going to listen to me and what calls to my heart. And in spite of all the mean comments and lack of support that I've received over the years, in spite of all of that, I did just that. And it has made all the difference in the world. And if I can do it, anyone can. Anyone can.
Yeah, because you put your passion into it.
Yes.
You were not, I'm not sure. You just trusted and went for it. And,
there's a lot of times I thought, what the heck am I doing? I am totally crazy. There were many nights that I would wonder how it was all going to work. But again, I let go of the outcome and I just paid attention to where I was drawn. I have
Right.
wonderful guides, my spirit team, my spirit helpers. They've never steered me wrong. And truly, and trusting yourself. You have to trust, if you like something, if you're drawn to something, pay attention. You're getting that for a reason. There's something there that calls to all of us. It could be cooking or singing or playing the piano. I mean, it doesn't have to be pets like it was for me. What calls to your heart? What have you put on the back shelf because people around you have poo-pooed it?
Yeah.
That's your dream, that's your passion, and it's waiting for you to go, come and get me. I'm right here. I'm within reach. Yeah, you got to
And
work.
hmm
Yeah, you got
you
to
got to
work.
work at everything though, no
You
matter
got to
what you
work.
do. So
And
you might as
I've never been one to back down from a challenge ever, ever,
right.
ever, ever. So it truly is, you know, a a beautiful thing when you can take something that you love and create joy and happiness and an animal sanctuary out of it. And I'm proud. I'm proud of the work that I've done, and I'm proud of my books. They're all in the Amazon bestseller list. I've got
Right.
3 books right now in the top 17. I've got the number 2 spot and the number 3 spot today with Amazing Afterlife of Animals and The Pet I Can't Forget.
Wow.
So,
Amazing.
it's a huge accomplishment. And the thing is, those books are helping people heal. They're helping them move out of that dark place.
Mm-hmm.
And, again, just sharing my experiences, sharing my stories, and the amazing transformations. It's just a beautiful thing.
And everybody says, "Oh no, it's about the animals. People get pets, yada yada." But no matter what it is that you have a passion for, that you put it aside because people didn't agree with you, that brings healing to someone else. It
It does.
really does, one way or another. Somebody who's been playing guitar put it aside because his parents said, no, you have to be an attorney, or you have to be doing
Right.
this or that. Once he puts his passion back on the burner, and not on the burner, but at the actual fire, and gets that going, he's going to be healing people with music.
That's
He or
right.
she.
And
Yeah.
everything falls into place. When you stand in the middle of your truth of what you're supposed to be doing, everything falls into place. Doors open, opportunities happen. If
Mhm.
you're in a spot right now where everything's going wrong and you kept, get in trouble like me or get laid off or, your relationships fall apart. Hello, knock,
Yeah.
knock. Pay attention. Someone's trying to get a message to you. You're doing the wrong thing, or you're with the wrong person, or you're in the wrong job. You need to pay attention to what's in here and don't live in fear. Fear
Yes.
doesn't exist. Fear is just a perception.
Hmm.
And you just power through it. And it brings me back to the nonprofit. And I have to shift back there again
Oh,
because
please.
we we need donations all the time.
Right.
There's never a time where we don't need them. I have an Amazon wish list. I have a Chewy wish list. I have a Walmart roundup. You can also donate on my website. You can donate on the paintedrainranch.org website. I've
Hmm.
got a Facebook page for the ranch that you can donate on. We need donations all the time because our animals are here forever.
Right.
So if you want to help and you don't know how to help and you want to know that that donation is going right to the animal, then send us something. Go to our Amazon wish list or our Chewy wish list or something. We are so grateful. And I thank everybody who includes a thank you note. If you don't give me a thank you note, I can't thank you because I don't know who it's from. I'll just get a package of dog food and I won't know who it's from. So be
Right.
sure to put a little thank you note in there so I can get on the computer and say thank you, thank you, thank you. But truly, we do need donations all the time, always. And I want to also share that I do private coaching. I have an online course for beginners. So if this is something that, ooh, that sounds kind of fun. I want to learn animal communication. Anyone can learn as long as you have a love for animals and the desire to learn a new skill.
Right.
Plus, in my beginner's course,
Mm-hmm.
it's online, it's self-paced. You're not in a big, group with 100 other people. You log in when you want, you practice when you want, and you get personal feedback from me. I am your coach in the beginner's course. That's unheard of. It's unreal.
Right.
Nobody does that. I'm crazy Karen, and I do that. Why? Because I want to help you. I want to share my knowledge with you. So that's what I do. I can't say I'm going to do it forever because, you know, I can't do it forever. So while I'm doing that, jump on it. And then for intermediate advanced levels, I do private one-on-one coaching where we get on a Zoom and it's just you and me. And I help you through all the aspects of either perfecting your craft, even the business and marketing side of it, all of that. And again, proceeds from all of those courses and coaching goes to the nonprofit. So that is a tax deduction for you. We're allowed by law, which is amazing.
It is amazing. And, you know, you don't see that too often. And especially if you're one-on-one, that is very special.
Most of the courses out there, and I've taken a bunch of courses, they're usually big group meetings, and you're trying to raise your hand in a group of like, hundreds of people and get your question answered. I don't like that. So I did not set up the model that way. I set it up so that you work one-on-one with me. I give you 100% of my attention. You're not competing with anyone. And I gear the program around your skills. So if you are, really good at something, I'll make you even better. And if you're not really good at something, I'll make you really good at it. So your experience is going to be different from the next guy who's different from the next guy. It's not one of these one size fits all kind of thing. Most of the programs that I've taken, they're slideshows or they're pre-recorded or they're, just not personalized programs at all. And I didn't want to do that. I don't appeal to the masses. I'm not going to be that person that has 5,000 people that I'm coaching. I'm not that person. I'm for the individual. You know why? There was no one who helped me when I started. I had to figure this all out by myself. And I made a promise to myself that I've kept, that if I ever got to a position where I could help somebody, if they were really passionate about it, I was going to do everything I could to see them be successful. So that's what I've kept, that promise to myself. I pay it forward. So everything I do right now is for the animals, and everything I do right now is for those who have the passion like me that think that this is fascinating and they want to learn how to do this. Come and check it out. Like I said, I can't say I'm going to be coaching forever. If this airs 10 years from now, 5 years from now, I don't know. But right now I'm here and I'm available. So
yes, my classes, I try to keep them small too. It's on Zoom, but still it's no more than 10 to 15 people tops.
It's hard when you get a lot of people in there because you can't, it's a lot to juggle, and it turns into did I really help everyone or was I just trying to juggle? So I really want to focus on the individual. And I know that there's many choices now for coaching and programs. And, I understand that. But the one thing that I will promise is that you will work directly with me, not an admin, not a robot. You will work directly with me. And you will definitely come through that program a changed person. You will have, I will fire hose you with knowledge. Knock you out of your chair.
I'm the same way. I even tell them, you have a question in the middle of the night, don't text me, please. But you could email me, and I promise I'll.
I know. I especially have to tell the East Coast people, please, I'm on Pacific time zone. Just be mindful of the time zone, please. I go to sleep early. I have to remind them. Remember the time zones.
Yes, yes. So this is wonderful. You
Yes.
have got
Oh,
so
I almost
much.
forgot. I have a Facebook group. It's a
Okay.
practice group. It's called Animal Communication Planet. And you
Okay.
can join us. It's open to all levels. And I pop in as often as I can. And there's some past videos I've done of free training. And what we do is we're a practice group. So you post your pet, other people practice with
Mm-hmm.
your pet, and then so on and so forth. And then everyone practices with each other's pet, and then you can see the feedback of what everybody got. And it's a loving group of people, and it's a wonderful place to learn and expand your skills.
Perfect. Perfect. Now, is there anything that we haven't
Yes.
covered that you want to say?
Yes. One more. I
Okay.
have I have a free mobile app. You
Okay.
can download it right now. It's called Pet Loss, Hope, and Healing with the and sign. Pet Loss,
Right.
Hope, and Healing. You can
Mm-hmm.
find it on my website. You can go to the App Store if you're in the iPhone. You can go to Google Play if you're an Android and download it free. You can opt in as a member for free and get even more free training and more perks. It's all free.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also a web version that is petlossapp.com. I forgot to
Mm-hmm.
give you that earlier, but I think it was on my link tree.
It,
That
yeah.
I think it is. The
Yeah.
web version does not have as many bells and whistles as the mobile version, but we're adding new and more content all the time. So if you want afterlife insights, animal communication information, there's
Mm-hmm.
podcasts, there's articles, there's a gallery where you can have your pet's picture added. There it is. I just saw it
There
on
it
the
is.
screen.
Yeah.
Petloss.com. Wow, that was like magic.
Yeah. I know.
And it is the most downloaded app that my developer has. So I'm very proud
Wow.
of that app. So check it out.
Congratulations.
There's lots of stuff, even some of my plant based recipes, because I am a plant based girl.
Okay. Perfect. Well, Karen, it's a pleasure, and I really would love to have you back, you know,
Thank
and
you.
talk a little more about all this. Just want to thank our audience, and please go download the app, go check her groups out, go check her stuff out. This is all to help pets, help animals. You know, you can't. Come on, guys. Even the app is free. Let's go for it. Let's support this. Let's pay it forward. All right. So I'd like to say thank you. And it's wonderful that you're here. Stay with me for a second. And as always, we send love, we send blessings, and I love you. Bye, guys.
Thanks for tuning in.